Hello and welcome to Bergen Stages Television, our entertainment magazine here at Bergen Community College. I'm Jim Bumgardner, your host, and welcome to a very special edition of Bergen Stages. I was just reminded by our producer, Marianne Coe, that this is our 6th season of doing our Bergen Stages Television. So before we start, I do want to thank Howard and Sean and Marianne and Jim and Brian and the whole gang here in Media Technologies and Bergen Community College for allowing us 6 seasons worth of doing the show, and thank you, the audience, for tuning in and keeping us in your thoughts when you're thinking about entertainment here in Bergen County. So thank you again to everybody responsible for the show. And what a great show we have for you for opening our 6th season, and that's bringing 2 of my favorite people from the college and our theater program to talk to you about what they do here at the college. So welcome Ken Bonnafons and Marie Natali.
Thank you.
Welcome, guys.
And congratulations to you guys for keeping this going for so long.
It's great.
Wonderful.
There's so many great things that are happening in our theater program, and it's just wonderful to be able to share that with our audience and our community here in Bergen County.
Real nice.
So thanks.
Nice run.
Yeah, very good. Good run so far.
Congratulations. Great.
We have so much to talk about, and it's wonderful because, Ken, you're a director on top of being a faculty member. Marie, you're a costume designer on top of being a faculty member. So before we get into talking about your jobs here at the college, Ken, how did you get here? I know we've had you on the show before, but just to refresh us of how did you end up at Bergen Community College?
Oh, okay. Well, it really kind of goes like this. I was living in Manhattan at the time, and I was teaching at what was then the New York Business School, and it was teaching English to foreign students. Mm-hmm. So I noticed an ad in the paper for Bergen, that they were seeking an ESL teacher and a theater teacher.
Wow.
Both at the same semester.
ESL being English Second Language, so you're dealing with students that English is not their primary language.
And I was teaching at that business school. It was English for them to learn our systems. And so I applied, and when I did, I applied for both jobs because I thought I was qualified for both. And as it turned out, I was right. I got called in to be interviewed for both jobs and went ahead and finally had my last interview with the dean. And he said, "What job are you seeking?" And I had to choose then. And quite frankly, I chose teaching the ESL because I was afraid to try to turn students on to becoming actors, etc., knowing what the future, how tough it is.
Not an easy career out there. So
Yeah, so I was
absolutely,
afraid to turn too many people onto what I love, theater.
But we kept you involved by having you direct.
Yes, which I had been doing before. And so I feel right now I've got the best of 2 worlds. I'm teaching the ESL, which I adore, and I'm getting to direct in the theater every year. So
Totally.
It's wonderful.
Are we lucky or what?
Yeah, life is good.
It is good. And Marie, how did you end up with us? You, again, both of you have been here much longer than I have at Bergen. So how did you?
I'm just celebrating my 15th year here.
15th year.
I know,
Congratulations!
I can't believe it. And the first show I did was for Ken.
With Ken. And what show was that?
Our Town.
Our Town.
Yeah,
Wonderful show.
right.
Wonderful costumes.
It was minimal.
Was it?
He
Well, it tends
kept
to be. If
everything-
you do it right,
yes,
it should be.
and it really was quite an experience. I was very excited about starting here. And I thought, oh, wow, this is going to be a great show to costume. He says, oh, no, we're just having like little accents here and there, pieces. So it was a good experience. You know? And then the next show was a much bigger show, and I enjoyed it. But actually, my daughter was a student here. Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, cool. And she was in a play that Jared was directing.
Jared Saltzman, who's our theater faculty.
Something America, I can't even remember. Anyway, she came home, she said, our costumer is not coming through. She, I need this. And I had my own collection, so I got her all dressed in her 50s look. And Jared loved it. And then she said, well, my mother is a costume designer. He says, well, why don't you have her submit her resume here? And, we could use someone like her. And
so you sort of costumed that first.
Well, I sort of, without being hired, but I started just giving them things to use. And so I met with Ken. Gosh, Ken, I'm just remembering that. It's so nice. Yeah, I went up to see Ken, and he interviewed me, and I showed him my portfolio, and so it just kind of, one thing led to the other, and here I am 15 years later, and it's just been a joy. I've just loved it.
15 years of collaborating with each other, too. Ken
Very-
directs every season, every year you'll direct a show every year, and
Right.
Marie has been our resident costume designer,
Right.
so you two have collaborated a lot.
A lot, yes.
And we were very lucky that her daughter got help from her, that she came and wound up staying.
Are we the luckiest?
We are very
Yeah,
lucky.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Marie,
That goes both ways, guys.
but what's been so wonderful about Marie is that you don't just do one show, you do our whole season. So, we
Right.
have set designers, and we have sound design, and we normally kind of, they shift off and on to whether they do a
Right,
show or
right.
not, but you've been our consistent plus in charge of our costume room. So that's kind of great to have you as our resident
Well,
costume
it's been a great
designer.
experience. I hope it lasts a lot longer, but
Oh, I hope so too.
yes, but it's been a joy, really.
So
And-
Our Town was the first, which was before my time. But then what I remember when I first got here was, Ken, you had done Bus Stop, but Marie didn't design that. You came in for All My Sons.
Right.
All My Sons, which was a collaboration set in World War II. So just for our audience's sake, what happens between a director and a costume designer? Where does the conversation even begin to know where you start your job and where you...
Well, I think usually it starts with the play itself, is what the play demands. What period it should set in, that's the very obvious. And then we start talking about what image, what vision, what focus we think the plays should have, what it's about, and work towards that.
So you articulate that in some way, and the designers pick up from...
Yeah, sure. You know, if I say, I think All My Sons took place in 40.
44.
What was on 44? I think 44.
Yeah, 45.
So right away, Marie will say, oh, okay, you're talking about suits that look with this size lapel or with that size tie. So we can start with specifics that way.
Great. And then where do you take it from there? So you ask these sort of questions?
Well, basically, though, we really start at the concept meeting because
Listening to
that's
the
when the director will tell what his vision of the play is. And of course, a period piece like that is going to demand a certain look, 1940s look. Not like what we're doing now, which we'll talk about after. But so his vision is what I try to achieve. So we collaborate all the time, and I love working with Ken because we always kind of touch base, and sometimes I'm interrupting him. I don't mean to, but I just have a quick question, and he goes, oh, okay. And so we just kind of go over the colors we want to use, the styles that we're using.
The time of year that this is set in?
The time of year is
over the
very
years?
important,
Yeah.
and and also what the actor will be doing in that specific costume, so that I make them I make sure that it's something comfortable that they can work in, dance in, and so those are all things that we take into
So Ken, do you
consideration.
think while you're reading through the play, knowing that you're directing it, these visions of what they're looking like are already there? Or
Sometimes. I think for All My Sons, it was easier to kind of imagine because the period is so clear.
Exactly.
Some of the other ones it takes playing with, because one of the things that Marie does that's so good, aside from taking the period and the needs of what that character has to do, she thinks about the characters as well and how they're represented. If you just look at them, it says something.
and family, if they're in family, you try to kind of get
Yeah.
patterns and colors and
And I
textures.
know she
that are-
goes, depends a lot on color schemes to make sure that it's not jarring.
And that collaboration tends to work. You come in with those ideas at the next production meeting, and
Well, then I come in the second meeting after that concept meeting, and I have a storyboard, and so I've tried to put down on paper visually something that he will approve or disapprove, and we just go over it and then
but what
take
you
it
took
from
away
there.
from the meeting. So you're kind of there going, okay, this is what I took away, so let me try to give a
Exactly.
lateral application of a visual
Yeah.
of what you got
Exactly.
from it. And it
Right.
might not, especially in the couple of weeks in between. You've lived with the script a little bit longer, so you might have, especially as particular characters come along, you might have a different
Exactly.
view. But an
Yeah.
interesting thing, I think one of the next ones that you worked together was Firebugs, which is a little different because it's not just set in a period, but it also has a metaphor and a vision you had that's outside of the script.
Yes.
How was that to interpret?
You take it.
Take it, Jen.
I think we communicate pretty well, and a lot of times it'll come down to specifics. It might be a general specific, which I prefer dealing with in talking with either the set designer or the costumer. Instead of saying, I see everybody wearing this, or say, well, I kind of think maybe if they can be, and Marie will pick up on it. And to me, that's valuable because I feel like I'm just kind of setting a general parameter, and she takes it from there. The texture of the costumes, the color each one wears, etc. So that keeps growing as the rehearsal process comes, and that's why we keep talking to each other.
Yes.
But in Firebugs, you ended up with clowns. I mean, these were
Right, exactly. I'm trying to
dancing
think back now that you brought it
clowns.
up. That was quite a...
that must have, you read a play, you go, okay, and then you come to a concept meeting and go, okay.
We do that a lot, don't we?
Yes, we do.
But I guess makes for great collaboration.
We have,
that's what's
I
so
think,
fun.
great collaboration.
Yeah, I think so,
We
too.
really do.
So you've done a few more. You've done Pygmalion together.
Oh, that was a joy.
Which was beautiful, a magical costume kind of show. Importance of being earnest.
Yeah.
Was
Oh,
another
yes,
costume. I'm just trying to
right.
think of some of the ones that had. Was there a favorite along the way there that you guys worked on each other? Or is anything coming to mind that?
Your favorite line?
What's my favorite line?
The one you always write. The show I'm working on is
Oh,
my favorite.
that's true, yes.
I
Well,
love when I read that.
That's what I was about to say, that's what usually happens.
Yeah, I agree.
Whatever show you're working on, your attention and focus goes so much on that. Yes, you'll have favorites. I love doing All My Sons for more than the costume, for what the
agree.
play had to say,
Right.
etc. But usually it does happen that in choosing a favorite, it's kind of difficult. It's like apples and oranges and pears, and
And each had their own
Yeah.
reason for it.
Exactly.
But some are more costumed elaborately than
Yeah.
others. Brighton Beach Memoirs was one that was just great. Said, sit in Brighton Beach and just wonderful colors, textures in the show. But you
Yeah.
guys had to chit chat about that, and
Yeah.
that was just as beautiful as some of the
Yeah.
other things you worked on.
Yeah.
together.
And in
That
not
was a great show.
when I say giving the parameters of something, it's she's an artist, so let her create
Allow the artist,
instead
yeah.
of being too specific and stuff. And I think that works well.
Yeah.
If you trust people and you know that
Right.
they're quality.
And I think we even look at that in playbills on Broadway. We see these teams working always together because
Yes.
they understand each other's language at a point that you get what they're trying to say. And I
Yeah.
think that's over the years, which has been great between the two of
Exactly.
you, is that you
Very
understand
true.
each other's language and know how to dissect in between the lines sometimes, or the metaphor that the director's coming up with.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time that the costume just wasn't right yet? Did Marie ever come in with
That's where
something?
we're
you go,
at right now.
I know.
No.
No, I don't remember us.
No, I don't think
having
so.
a-
We really stay pretty much in touch. I really like the director. I want to achieve his vision.
And you're hands-on too, so it's not like you surprise them on opening night saying this is what they're
Oh,
wearing.
never. That's why
Right.
we have a costume parade.
So,
thank
but
God.
even
Yeah.
before that,
Yeah.
Marie will show you, right? You'll come
Yes.
into the dressing room. This is what I'm thinking.
Yes.
Which
Or even when I'm fitting people and, just having a group in the room, and Ken will arrive early and he'll sit there and I will just start showing him different things that I'm working on, because I want him to approve it. I don't want him to have a surprise, and I don't want to have a
you
surprise.
don't need that surprise.
Yeah, and
No.
she's terrific about saying, well, you're the director.
I am.
Do you want this or that? And
But options too. I'm seeing
Oh,
her in
yes.
this or this or this,
Yeah,
and we'd like to keep
exactly.
it. And that's great too. And I think that's a lot of designers will do. This is what I see. This is what I've been working on. This is what you're getting. And
This
it's like,
is it, huh?
And then we get into the costume parade where you see them all put together. But again, that's not a surprise. That's a week before the show opens. And
I better have it together.
yeah.
or I'm in trouble.
But now we're working on the clouds. So I want to get into talking about the clouds, but we're going to take a short break just
Oh,
before
okay.
we get into that to kind of describe what you're working on
Okay.
and how we're going to get to the final product here. So
Terrific.
we're going to take a short break right now, but come back and join me with Ken Bonnafons and Marie Natali to talk about the clouds. Thank you.
A boy born in Joplin, Missouri was fascinated by anything with wheels and a motor. The odds of him going on to fascinate millions with his talent? 1 in 260,000. The odds of this born racer having 157 career top 10 finishes in NASCAR? 1 in 125 billion. The odds of him winning both the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year? 1 in 195 million. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I'm NASCAR driver Jamie McMurray, and my niece has autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
Encuentra el bosque más cercano en descubreelbosque.org. El bosque, más cerca de lo que crees.
Hello and welcome back to Bergen Stages Television. I'm Jim Bumgardner, your host. Thank you for tuning in today. We have two very special guests that we've been talking with a little bit, Ken Bonnafons and Marie Natali, about costume designing and the director and this collaboration that they do together. Guys, so when we left off, we were heading towards this new project we're working on, the production of The Clouds. It's a Greek comedy written by Aristophanes. And we are opening on February 26th in the Interhall Lab Theater, just plug. And we have other designers working. We do have Jared Rutherford doing the set design. We have Jared Saltzman doing lights. We have Dean Matson doing the sound design. And I'm forgetting somebody, props.
Mary.
Oh, thank you, Mary Clifford. Yes, Mary's doing props for us. So these are a part of this team that have the same conversation you guys have had that started at the concept meeting, and then as a director, you're responsible for keeping up with all those different entities of this production. But today we're really focusing on the two of you working on this one. So just for our audience, Ken, if you don't mind saying a little bit about this play.
Okay. The Clouds, a comedy by Aristophanes. At first, when I first looked at this play, I was intimidated. We hold great reverence for the Greeks and what they did, and rightfully so. But what I found out in looking at different translations is that they were fairly loose themselves. We looked at the way the play was divided into different segments, and because these plays were usually entered into contests, they had to fit all of the rules, all the guidelines. So that becomes somewhat rigid when we study the past. What I found is looking through it in one section of the play, it said, in this section of the play, the chorus usually performed themselves. They could do dancing or music or singing or whatever, and sometimes they even did it outside of the theater.
So it left it wide open to basically.
So it left it wide open, yeah. I thought it takes place, these contests usually took place during festival periods. So I started thinking, well, this is just like San de Janeiro, the Italian here, they're all out in the streets and stuff. And I thought, this is a good leeway. So with that in mind, I felt free to kind of play with the play. The play concerns plotline.
Just a little bit of it, just kind of get us into this.
The play really concerns an older guy who is in debt because his son loves horses so much.
His very lazy son loves horses.
His very lazy son loves horses. And so he's trying to figure out a way that he can get out of paying his debts. And he thinks that if he sends his son to a school that's run by Socrates, that Socrates will be able to teach him rhetoric to trick his creditors out of being paid. That's kind of the gist of the show.
Great. And so that gets us, and it does poke fun at Socrates.
Definitely.
Actually, Aristophanes, the playwright himself, makes an appearance in the play talking about what's going on here.
Yeah.
And it's delightful. I have sat through rehearsals, and it is very funny. You think
it's
after
funny.
2,500 years, it still holds up very,
Yeah,
very funny.
very
Yeah.
funny.
And
It's
again,
unique.
we've got that kid at home that won't get off the sofa. It's like, get out there and do something. But what's funny is that it does also tie into a lot of our courses here. You're talking about rhetoric, which is our speech classes all deal with, giving these persuasive speeches and dealing with Socrates and in this case, we also have the philosophy department and all getting involved in this
Yeah,
production.
they're very interested.
Which is great, which is great. So that said, so you've had free leeway with this. You feel a little bit more
At liberty,
there's the word.
loose
There's the word, yeah.
about it, which is so nice to not feel trapped.
So we all read the play, and then we came to the concept meeting, and we sat there, and I know that Marie was thinking togas. Everybody's looking nice. And what did you add to this? That's gonna,
Well,
without giving away too much away, but I think it's
yeah,
clever because it's intentional as opposed to.
Well, after this discovery of we don't have to be so rigid with the different parts of the play, also I began to think, the world keeps changing. We think something is, and then lo and behold, didn't the other day in the newspaper they said maybe a new planet? They constantly, through archaeology digs, find another remains of something. They say, oh no, this changes everything. So I thought, well, maybe we studied the Greeks a little bit too hard. Let's be a little looser with them. Why couldn't they have invented things that we don't think of them as having invented, but they may have, and we just didn't find the remains yet. So that led to using a lot of anachronisms in the play. A very small example, somebody carries a golf club walking through the play, and I hope people will say, a golf club? What is that golf club? Well, are we so smug as to believe we're the only ones who thought about hitting a little ball with a club?
Right.
They may have done this too. So that gave an air of modernity to it. We could do things.
Which also could say that this play could be today. I mean, the same
Yes.
issues are just as vibrant and vital today. And I
Yes.
think that kind of ties that by the same token is that they could have invented it. It's also, this could have happened today just because it happened then. So how does Marie Natali interpret this liberty?
Well, it's a challenge. No, but it's been a lot of fun, and I think he's taken Aristophanes' Clouds to a whole new level.
Different level, yeah.
Different level, and like you said, without giving anything away, we're taking it through not that century only, but all the way.
So we might see
So-
costumes from anywhere, any period in time.
We want to surprise everyone, kind of, but yes. So his concept was a little bit of a surprise in certain areas, but I think it's great. We have a lot of traditional, Greek costumes, but we've also thrown in other things. Just as a hint, we're using silver lame, and you'll
Good.
see where.
Which is kind of a fun thing because the clouds are characters in this play.
Yes.
Yes.
And you have them costumes special. We don't want to give too much away because
Yeah.
I think they come out great.
Yeah. Let's just say the silver lining is there.
Oh,
So
that
you
was
look
so
for it, you'll
beautifully
find the
put.
silver lining.
Why didn't I think of that?
So these clouds will come on and they actually talk with the mortals and
Yes.
Exactly.
and then there's the chorus too. So there's other people that just kind of come on doing all sorts of characters.
Exactly.
They're either students in the thinkery or just pedestrians, I guess.
Right.
And so all these
Civilians,
people
yeah.
get costumed and overlaid with some of these anachronisms, as you call
Right,
them.
exactly.
That's kind of fun.
So it's really been interesting and fun, and so we're.
And how do these students, because now we're saying, okay, we know you study the Greeks, and we get that you said, you know what, I read this. Are they following along with this, or are they like going, what is he doing?
No, I think they appreciate the idea, and actually, we talk sometimes that in the theater, we're getting good audiences. We want more students to come. So the idea of something that appeals to students is important. And I think this is one area that we can accomplish with this particular play. Because it takes so much freedom, and they should catch a lot of what maybe older, sophisticated people won't.
Oh, that's great.
And
That's great.
accept
Just kinda
it.
Make it,
You've contemporized it enough that
To open that door for them to get.
Yeah,
Well,
they're
wait a
not
minute,
going to
I
sit
get
and
this.
say, you know, oh, wait a minute, in this
Yeah.
section of the play, this should never. No, I think they'll accept it and enjoy it for what it is.
And Marie, you've given them some costumes already to work in.
Oh, yes. Well, you know, when they go into rehearsal, they all, of course, are in their jeans and their sneakers and whatever. And so just to start getting into their character, they all get like tunics to wear and sandals, because walking on those platforms and everything, I mean, you need to hear what it sounds like. And they get accustomed to wearing them. And
how to sit in a tunic and a
and
toga.
the other thing is, yes, and a lot of them, it's been so cold over there, they still have like warm-ups underneath the tunics I've given them. But when they come off, and after watching them sitting, I'm like, okay, so I have pulled all these shorts that they're going to wear underneath their tunics,
Because,
you know, or tights or dance pants.
but that's almost okay as well. I mean, it's kind of like,
Yes.
so
Yeah,
what?
well,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
If
well,
you
we
were
don't want to
strict-
surprise the audience
Right,
too
right,
much.
no. But if we wanted to be strict Greek, we wouldn't have done something like that. But
Oh, right,
Ken's
exactly.
basically opened the door and said, why not?
Yeah.
Which is kind of a wonderful way to approach a Greek comedy, as opposed to being so, oh, you know, oh, this is a Greek play, and we got to be
think
so
so, too.
careful. with
I
this
know,
kind
it
of
was
thing.
cute because I was fitting someone last night, and so she's like, oh, this costume's like a little short. And I said, well, I always say this is what Ken wants. So she says, well, I have to do this. And I said, because I always have them like, tell me what you're doing. Are you moving? Are you dancing? This way I want to make sure that what I give you to wear, you can move in. And she bends over, and it's backward, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I see what you mean. You're going to be doing that. I guess I'll have to talk to Ken. We'll see what we're going to do. But and dance pants will work, you know.
But that's the point you're at, is just these kind of like, okay,
Tweaking all
to
these
tweak all
little-
these kind of
yes,
things is where we
right,
get to
right.
the few weeks before we lead up to opening day.
Yeah,
Great.
so-
And how are rehearsals going, Ken?
Going fine.
Good,
They're
good.
going fine. I'm enjoying it. The students seem to be enjoying it. The play is not a long play, so we just finished blocking it last night and get to run it many
So you have
times
several weeks
before.
now to just kind of let it
play
run
with
and
it
find-
and
yeah,
find it.
find
And again, when we say play with it, a lot of it has to do with letting the students feel comfortable enough that they will play also, instead of just listening to what they're told to do or move with. They'll play.
And they're creating these characters that, like you
Yes.
said, aren't so stereotypical. You're being a Greek and you got to do it this way. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, no, they're finding
Yeah.
some
So
exciting
it's a nice
things.
acting
It
experience
is.
too.
They're having
I think.
fun. They really are enjoying it,
Yeah.
I think, watching them. Yeah.
And just one thing as we go further into just before opening, usually everything, you know, the set has to be finished. I'll just say this one time, I've forgotten what play it was. I don't even think it was one I directed.
Oh, good.
Because I came to the show and looking for a seat, and there was Marie with her husband sitting there. It was opening night. And
Where the designer should be.
yeah, so I
Oh, he didn't think so.
I went behind her and I said, "What are you doing out here?" Usually costumers, they're back there with pins in their mouth.
Marie's
Calm,
ready.
she
Opening
had
night,
it
she's
ready.
which is
And her husband said, "Always."
always,
Always.
which is
Well,
brilliant.
I tried.
Yeah, so
Well, I
it's
hate
great.
to wrap this up on, but what a positive note to wrap it up on. The Clouds opens on February 26th, runs for 2 weekends. It will be in the Interhall Lab Theater. It's great to have you two on the show.
Oh,
thank you
thank
so
you.
much
It's
for
been
sharing.
a
The time goes
pleasure.
by so quick, but it's just so wonderful to get some of the behind the
Yeah,
scenes
nice to
look at
talk
what's
together.
going on.
Yes, wonderful.
So,
Thank you.
thank you again for tuning in to Bergen Stages Television and making this our 6th season. So thank you and tune in, and we'll see you at the show.